The man returned home and discovered that the living room light would not turn on, but strangely, a lamp on top of the cabinet was shining brightly. A Hoptroff number 9 watch, which he had always longed to own, was sitting right there on the cabinet. In his drunken state, he did not care where the watch had come from and immediately grabbed the stool beside him and stood on it to reach for it. But suddenly, a noose tightened around his neck. He was yanked upward brutally. It was an 11mm climbing rope, capable of supporting 500 kilograms. The man holding the rope stepped out from the shadows. He kicked the stool away, and only after seeing the drunk man completely stop breathing in front of him did he finally feel at ease. After that, he pulled out his phone, took a picture, and sent it to the client. Because this job was worth $25,000, since he specialized in creating perfect accidental deaths to avoid police investigation, his colleagues often called him the accident man. This killer usually liked riding motorcycles, and his name was Mike. Whenever he completed a mission, he would often feel an extreme rush of excitement. To release the excess adrenaline, he would usually go to a bar filled with shady characters. He would give a small tip to the security guards at the door so they would leave, then walk inside and specifically look for thugs who were being an eyesore. Mike glanced around and spotted a few big men harassing women, so he deliberately walked over and threw out some provocative words.
Come on!
Oi, fat boy! That's some sort of accent? Or is your mouth just full of spunk?
You fucking what? Knock him out, Bazza! Come on then, you cunt!
Mike was not the type of person who just fought normally. He would beat these scum who bullied men and women into cripples. After all, in England, no matter how much you beat this kind of people, they never run out.
Cheers, love. Help me through my PMT. Here you go, mate. PMT. Post-murder tension.
After feeling refreshed, he would drive to a door hidden away in a dark corner. This was the headquarters of the assassin company he belonged to, a bar called Oasis. In the evening, this place gathers assassins like Mike. It is just that each person's working style is somewhat different. This big bearded man is Cliff, known as a serial killer. This rough thug from Russia especially loves using an axe to chop everything. When he goes mad, he shows no regard for anyone.
There's not much call for his style these days except for the odd example killing. But he's still one of the lads.
However, when he meets Mike, with whom he has a good relationship, he still reveals a friendly smile. That scruffy, sneaky-looking man is Peter, a poisoning specialist.
He's a filthy little runt who takes keeping himself to new heights, and yeah, you guessed it. He poisons people. Nobody really likes Pete because he's got a vocabulary of about 12 words, and well, look at him. Can't say I'm a fan of his style. It's simple, effective, yeah, but fucking spineless. Apparently even his parents hated him, so much so that his only bath time toy was a toaster. But for our clients, it's the effective part they're after.
Mick and Mac are an assassin duo, and both of them are veterans of the Special Forces. What they are best at is framing innocent street thugs after taking down a target. Besides these male assassins, the Oasis bar also has a hot and seductive woman. This woman, named Jane, studied under Japanese samurai. After mastering their teachings, she defeated her own master and carried a katana with her across the world.
She spent the next decade under the tutorage of a disgraced Ronin. But that's a story for another time.
Jane lures in her marks in the most old-fashioned of ways. She gets them all hot under the collar, and when they least expect it, she unleashes the fury like a woman scorned. She's an expert swordswoman, and a right nasty bitch. The honey trap killing machine. There's a rumour going round that she keeps her male victims' nether regions in a trophy case at home. If that's true, then that is a shitload of cocks in a cabinet.
The owner of this bar is an old man named Ray. He is the one who set the rules for the assassin company and manages all the assassins under his command. His authority is very high, and no one dares to cause trouble in his bar. And besides these people, there is one person in the bar whom Mike hates the most, and that is the old man named Milton. He is the middleman for the assassin company, mainly responsible for dealing with clients and verifying mission details. After that, he chooses the right assassin to complete the job. Mike hates this old man Milton the most, this man who loves taking commission money. However, he still cannot avoid obeying his orders, because he is the one who assigns the missions. This time, Milton arranged a new mission for him again, to eliminate an accountant. Moreover, this target seemed to be quite important because the client had paid double the reward. To carry out this mission, Mike disguised himself as a repairman and hid on the rooftop for 5 days. Carrying a carbon dioxide air rifle with a high magnification scope, he waited for the best opportunity. Finally, when the accountant appeared at the station waiting for a ride, he got the perfect moment when a car passed by at exactly the right speed and angle. The bullets fired from the gun were shards of broken glass shot into the car's tire. Because of that, the police would only think that the car's tire had burst and crushed the unlucky accountant. Just like that, Mike easily completed a mission with double the reward. As an assassin with masterful killing skills, Mike also had his own private sorrow. Whenever he was alone at home, he would always unconsciously think of a beautiful woman. That woman was Beth, Mike's ex-girlfriend. The two of them had once been deeply in love when they were together. Later, Mike hurt her heart, causing Beth to leave him and be with another woman. This became a pain in Mike's heart whenever he thought about it. Just as his heart was feeling heavy, his phone received a new message. It turned out that Milton wanted Mike to personally come and collect the double reward that evening because he was too busy to go himself. According to the rules of the assassin company, this was not valid. But because of the double reward, Mike did not suspect anything and went to the agreed location that night. It was a small alley, deserted and quiet. Not long after, a motorcycle sped in. The rider suddenly pulled out a submachine gun and fired wildly at Mike. If Mike had not been quick enough to jump behind the car, he would have been shot full of holes. Seeing that the attack had failed, the gunman hurriedly sped away on the motorcycle. But unexpectedly, the end of the alley was temporarily blocked off because of construction. Left with no choice, he could only turn back. The gunman was dragged off the bike by Mike. Enduring the pain all over his body, he still wanted to continue fighting Mike, but he had no idea that the man standing before him was known as the strongest man in all of England. Every time he stubbornly got back up to deal with Mike, was knocked to the ground again by the exact same kick. Mike also could not get out of him who the client behind him was, so he decided not to waste any more time and finished off this assassin.
Don't worry, mate. I don't want to know anything.
Following his professional habit, he still disguised the corpse as a rider who had broken his neck from going too fast and crashing. After that, he called Milton to question him, saying that it had been a trap. However, Milton brushed it off with a few vague words, using the excuse that he would investigate. Mike could only suppress his anger and go home first. In the middle of the night, while he was fast asleep, he was awakened by the sound of the phone. He received terrible news. The ex-girlfriend he had always longed for had died. Mike found it hard to believe because he could not accept that this news was true. The next day, Mike attended Beth's funeral. He stood at a distance watching and did not dare go near. Only after the funeral had ended and everyone had already left did Mike take a bouquet of flowers and walk to Beth's grave. This was perhaps the woman he had loved the most. He needed to speak with her alone. At that moment, a woman walked over. It was Jane, the woman who had been living with Beth. After talking with Jane, Mike finally learned that Beth had been brutally murdered after two thugs, addicted to hard drugs, broke into her house. The police had identified the killers, but the two thugs had already died from an overdose. And right after that, Jane said something else that shocked Mike even more.
She was pregnant.
We're talking about pregnant. Who?
It was yours. But we were gonna raise it as our own.
All right. Why's that then? So you could have your own little perfect lesbian life together.
And what would be wrong with that?
Nothing, if one of you wasn't my girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend. And what would you have done anyways?
Then that would have done the right thing.
The right thing would have been to leave us alone.
Well, there you go. Would have done the right thing after all, wouldn't I? Oh, who's this? New girlfriend, is it? Didn't waste much time.
I'm her sister, you dick.
You're exactly how Beth described you. Clean up your fucking mess.
After hearing this, Mike became even more depressed and heartbroken. The TV was also broadcasting news about Beth's case. Beth, Mike's ex-girlfriend, was also a well-known person, a radical environmental activist. Beth's most recent activity had been trying to stop the construction of a coastal nuclear power plant. Watching the news on TV, Mike, as a professional assassin, caught a familiar scent. He felt that Beth's death might not be as simple as what the police investigation had concluded. Because Beth was dead and the child had never had the chance to be born, Mike decided that he had to get to the bottom of this case. He used favors that other people owed him from before to obtain Beth's case file from the police, and then he went alone to the scene where Beth had been killed. As he reviewed the file, he also examined the traces at the scene.
The police dossier says that burglars free-climbed up the wall to Beth's apartment. No mean feat. Then at the window, they crowbar their way in. Not impossible, but not easy. Once inside, these two scumbags thought it'd be a good idea to spark up and smoke some more crack. And then Beth comes home and disturbs them. Look how beautiful she is.
Then these burglars decided to have their fun. So they rob her, rape her, knock her unconscious, and then for good measure, repeatedly stab her with a bread knife. So these two drug addicts did all this for a few household goods and what little money Beth had in her purse. Granted, this thing happens a lot, but something doesn't sit right with me.
To Mike, all of this looked abnormal. How could ordinary people climb up and then climb back down that easily? In addition, Mike also saw in the autopsy report that Beth's blood contained sodium thiopental, a drug used to treat mental illness. This drug is usually prescribed by doctors to patients who suffer from a fear of flying. But Mike remembered very clearly that Beth was completely normal when traveling by plane. So Mike began reconstructing the real murder scene in his head. Two assassins had broken into the room, subdued Beth, and injected her with sodium thiopental. Because this drug has another name, truth serum. This is something that intelligence agencies and special mercenaries often use. The two assassins definitely wanted to force some kind of information out of Beth. After finishing, in order to cover up their methods, they scattered the hair and bodily fluids of the two hard drug addicts all over the room. And Mike was all too familiar with this kind of framing tactic, because this was Mick and Mac's most familiar method. Furious, Mike went straight to the training ground of the two assassin brothers. When the two brothers saw Mike arrive, they still pretended that nothing had happened, as if they knew absolutely nothing, until Mike threw the case file straight onto the ground. He laid out every detail of the case exactly as he had analyzed it. Mac knew he could not keep pretending anymore. He admitted that Beth's death was their latest job. They were only doing a job and taking the money, not targeting anyone personally. Moreover, they also knew Beth was Mike's ex-girlfriend, but they thought there was no longer any relationship between them, so they carried it out without hesitation. Mac advised Mike to go home and calm down. At first, he wanted to smooth things over, but unexpectedly his younger brother Mick deliberately threw out some provocative words. At that moment, Mike could not hold back anymore.
Now you need to step the fuck off. Now we don't want to hurt you. We were doing our jobs just like you've done 100 times before. So stop acting like a little bitch and go home and watch some goddamn cartoons.
Yeah. I don't think the odds are in your favor anyway. Just like they went for that fucking dyke.
Mike and the two Taekwondo-trained brothers fought evenly. 2 against 1 made him take quite a beating. But Mike thought of the woman he loved most, thought of the child he had never even met, and the flames of anger rose to the sky, making him fight harder and harder. Moreover, after the earlier exchanges, he had basically already understood the way the two of them fought. He began going all out, throwing heavy punches without holding anything back. Mike's most terrifying strength was not his fists, but his steel legs. Because he had studied Taekwondo since childhood, his kicking skills were unbeatable. His 360-degree spinning kick and spinning back kick could be said to be impossible to stop. In the end, the Mack brothers were completely beaten into submission by him. The older brother knew better how to handle people and said quite a few nice words to calm Mike down. But as for the younger brother Mick, who did not know his place, Mike still needed to vent his anger hard on him.
For years.
After all three of them worked for the same assassin company. And because Uncle Ray had set the rule that killing colleagues was forbidden, Mike spared the two of them. But he still learned from Mack that this job had also been assigned by Milton. That bastard old man had nearly gotten him killed last time. And now he had sent people to kill his ex-girlfriend. Mike felt that he needed to find him and get a clear explanation face to face. Furious, he returned to the Oasis bar, but Milton was nowhere to be seen. Uncle Ray, who was inside the bar, had already learned about the situation through Mike's phone call. He told Mike to calm down because as an assassin, one must never get involved in romantic feelings.
She was pregnant, right? The kid was mine.
Hearing this, Uncle Ray did not know what else to say. After all, he had known this young man since he was little. Out of all the assassins, Mike had the best relationship with him. But no matter who it was, no one could break the rules of this profession. Otherwise, this company would no longer exist. But Mike insisted on knowing Milton's whereabouts and who the client behind him was.
You listen to me. There are certain things about this business that we must always respect, whether we like it or not. We do not ask questions about a client. Never.
Well, it's about time things changed around here.
Don't you disrespect me, boy!
He sternly warned Mike not to keep causing trouble. Otherwise, he would not let him leave this bar. Mike knew that beneath Uncle Ray's counter there was a powerful shotgun hidden away. He could only suppress his anger and temporarily leave the bar. He did not want to smash his own rice bowl, and he also did not want to cut ties with his uncle beyond repair, because no one knew that Uncle Ray was actually his master. This also brought back a memory from Mike's teenage years. The teenage Mike was not strong at all like he is now. When he was 15 years old, he was chased and beaten by a group of thugs every single day, especially their leader, Romeo, who treated Mike even more cruelly. After robbing the money off him, he still would not forget to beat him up. That day, as usual, Mike was being chased again. With the escape skills he had trained so well, he skillfully climbed over a fence wall and temporarily escaped danger. While he was hiding behind the wall catching his breath, he suddenly saw a large man violently using a crowbar to break into a neighbor's house. And it clearly did not seem to be his house. Mike watched the mysterious man shut the door, and just as he was about to leave, he was surrounded by the gang of thugs. Romeo was preparing to give Mike a real beating, but in the very next second, the house next door suddenly exploded. Mike saw that mysterious man leave quickly as if nothing had happened. Mike did not know what came over him, but a sudden thought flashed through his mind: to follow that man. The man who had just blown up a house had a deadly attraction to him. Mike followed that large man for 3 whole weeks. After witnessing everything this man did, he finally understood that this was a professional assassin. Then one day, Mike gathered all his courage and knocked on the door of that large man's house, who was none other than Uncle Ray in his middle age. Mike had recorded everything he had seen about that man killing people. Uncle Ray grabbed the boy and dragged him into the house. He did not understand what this foolish kid wanted. As it turned out, the answer from this skinny boy was beyond his expectations. Mike wanted to follow him and learn how to kill people, and the person he wanted to take down the most was Romeo. Under normal circumstances, Uncle Ray would usually have taken him out directly and buried him in secret.
Oh, Jesus! Come here! Stay there!
If I'm not home by 6 p.m. tonight,
My foster parents are going to find a copy of that footage with this address and a note telling them to call the police because I've been murdered.
Bollocks. You're bluffing.
Maybe I am, but you really want to take that chance?
Perhaps he was good material to become an assassin. So under Uncle Ray's guidance, Mike began planning his very first killing. He secretly broke into Romeo's house. He climbed onto the balcony railing and stuck a banknote onto the TV antenna. Then he quietly hid inside a pile of filthy clothes. He waited until Romeo came home. Romeo accidentally noticed a cigarette on the table by the window. He had already run out of cigarettes, so he treated it like a gift from heaven and hurriedly picked it up and smoked it right by the window. And at that exact moment, he happened to notice the banknote on the antenna outside the window. It seemed like there were too many surprises today. He hurried out onto the balcony, planning to grab the money. At that very moment, Mike pushed Romeo off the balcony. He had taken down the bully who had always tormented him. Under normal circumstances, the first time someone kills, there is usually intense inner turmoil, but Mike did not feel anything at all. He even felt a sense of relief and joy. From that day on, Mike followed Uncle Ray and began learning an entirely new course. How do you make other people die in a way that looks like an accident? He learned all the methods of using special drugs and how to use all kinds of light and heavy weapons. Not only that, Uncle Ray also taught him many forms of martial arts, turning him into an outstanding assassin. Whenever Mike thought about those past experiences, he always felt grateful to Uncle Ray and remembered his teachings. But this time, for the sake of the woman and the child he loved, he was forced to cross the line. Mike went to Jane's house. He wanted to learn more information related to Beth. Jane, who had never liked Mike, let him into the house when she heard Mike say that Beth had been killed by assassins. That only strengthened her belief even more. The man standing in front of her was nothing more than an unemployed lunatic suffering from delusions. No wonder Beth had left him and come to her. No matter what Mike said, Jane treated it like a joke. The two of them inevitably started arguing.
Oh, like you can talk. You know better than me, you home wrecker.
Get out!
That was a pretty good punch.
I said, get out!
And at that exact moment, the door was suddenly smashed open. The vicious killer Cliff charged in holding a huge axe, and the moment he saw the two of them, he began hacking wildly. Jane had never witnessed a scene like this before. She was instantly frozen with fear and could only stare blankly as Mike and the brute struggled with each other. Although Cliff was not as agile as Mike, he had the advantage of unmatched strength. On top of that, he had the support of the huge axe. For the moment, Mike had no way to deal with him, and every time Cliff raised the huge axe, he would fall into a frenzied state, recognizing no one at all, only knowing to chop, chop, chop. Mike was also kicked to the ground by him. At that moment, Jane finally snapped out of it. She was also a brave woman. She grabbed a fruit knife and rushed forward, stabbing Cliff in the shoulder, but unexpectedly this vicious brute had a very thick health bar. A fruit knife could do nothing to him. He shoved Jane aside and was about to finish off Mike. Only at this point did Cliff finally calm down. Vomiting blood, he recognized Mike, and upon seeing his close friend, he smiled again. Before dying, he told Mike that he had come here under Milton's orders, and his real target was actually not Mike, but Jane. Cliff was dead. Jane was now scared out of her wits.
Charlie, look at me! Whatever Beth knew, they think you know as well. Do you understand me? This guy came here for you, not me.
With no other choice, Jane finally told Mike the truth. It turned out that while Beth was alive, she had always been investigating the scandals behind the oil company. She had obtained some important documents stored on her parents' computer hard drive. Those people seemed to be trying to find that dark information. Mike immediately told Jane to hurry to Beth's parents' house and retrieve the documents. As for him, he needed to go find someone and get a clear explanation. He went to a massage parlor that Milton often visited.
Where is he?
Oh.
Don't make me do something I regret, Fred.
You want me to get rid of him? Yeah, I think so. He's in the back.
A large tattooed man was massaging the small old man. Mike picked up a dumbbell and slammed it hard, knocking the big man unconscious. Milton had been enjoying himself, but he jerked his head up in shock to see what had happened, and as a result, he saw the person he least wanted to see. No matter how this old man tried to explain himself, Mike threw several punches first to vent his anger. He had nearly been beaten to a pulp, almost losing his life. Not only had he not seen a single cent of the double reward, but the woman he loved had also been killed. All of this had happened because of that old man. But after tasting suffering himself, Milton pushed all the blame onto the client. He said he had known nothing about what had happened. If that was the case, Mike immediately demanded that he reveal who the client was. But Milton still stubbornly clung to the so-called rules of the trade and gritted his teeth without saying a word. Mike then picked up an iron bar and smashed it hard onto the sole of his foot. In ancient times, this was called foot torture.
The next one will break bone, you'll never walk the same again. The one after that, you'll probably not be able to walk at all.
Okay, wait!
Unable to endure the pain that pierced to the bone, the old man finally revealed the client's information. It was a chief financial officer named Ken. Mike had finally gotten the information he wanted, but he still wanted to teach this old man a lesson.
But you will never work in this city again. Big Ray will hunt you down, and he will tell you.
Mike left, but the trouble he had caused made Uncle Ray fly into a rage. Cliff was dead, and the Mack brothers had been beaten black and blue. On top of that, Milton stood beside him adding fuel to the fire. Uncle Ray decided he would no longer be patient with his prize student. He issued a new assignment.
I have made a very difficult decision tonight. You all have a new mark, Mike Fallon. He's crossed too many lines. He's proven to be catastrophic for business. But more than that, he's gone and killed one of us, one of you. So you'll be doing this one for free.
Do we have to?
Yes, you fucking have to!
Will you be joining us, boss?
Don't be stupid. I ain't killed anybody since the Olympics. But if any of you fuckers let me down, I might have to rethink my retirement.
This mission offered no payment to anyone, because it concerned the survival of the assassin company. A storm of killing was about to crash down on Mike. On a bus, Mike and Jane secretly met, and she told Mike the secret Beth had been hiding. Beth had always been investigating an oil energy company. Because this company held certain dark information about the Prime Minister, it had used that leverage to obtain the rights to drill for oil along the coast. And Beth had always been receiving information about this company from an accountant. But suddenly, a week ago, she lost contact with that accountant. Hearing this, Mike rolled his eyes helplessly, because he knew that accountant was the unlucky man he himself had killed earlier using shards of broken glass. Jane handed Mike the hard drive containing those documents.
I can't remember Beth ever saying one good thing about you. She loved you, and she cared about you. And you're too self-absorbed to even notice. But she was still so happy to have your baby growing inside of her. I mean, she adored every second of it. I'm sorry that I took that from you. Now you go out there, and you find out who did this to Beth, and you make them fucking pay.
Look after yourself, Charlie.
Now, no matter what was said, it was already too late, and the only thing Mike could do was avenge the mother and child. That was exactly what Mike was thinking. He would absolutely make those bastards pay a heavy price. At that moment, the chief financial officer named Ken was in his office, overwhelmed by everything related to Beth. Completely unaware, a man had quietly appeared behind him. Mike gave the stubborn accountant countless iron punches, and along with the threat of throwing him out the window, finally forced his mouth to loosen and tell Mike who was really behind it all. It was Kim, a senior executive of the oil company. It was he who had ordered Ken to spend money hiring assassins to kill that ungrateful accountant, and to send assassins to recover the dark information from Beth. But Mike unexpectedly obtained an even more important piece of information. In the agreement between those bastards and the assassin company, every job could only be assigned to a single assassin. Therefore, Milton's claim that he knew absolutely nothing was a lie. He had personally planned and arranged all the assassinations himself. The purpose was to get rid of Mike, the man he found irritating. On top of that, Ken also had an electronic voice recorder. Inside it were recordings of all the phone calls between him and Milton. This was the evidence. Just as he finished saying all this, the office wall suddenly exploded open. The two brothers, Mick and Mac, charged and holding heavy machine guns. The full-scale hunt for Mike had officially begun. Mike dodged the bullets and hid behind the desk, but Ken was blown apart by the gunfire. Mick, whose jaw had been broken by Mike, threw out a grenade. Hearing the sound, Mike knew immediately that things were bad, so he quickly jumped out and kicked the grenade back. Taking advantage of the moment when the two were not paying attention, Mike quickly closed the distance and engaged them in close combat. He knocked the gun out of Mick's hand, and right at that moment, Mac fired the heavy machine gun at him. But every bullet hit his own younger brother instead. At that moment, he froze. He had just killed his own brother with his own hands. In overwhelming grief, he wanted nothing more than to kill Mike immediately, and he fired wildly at him. But all the bullets were gone, and still they had not wounded Mike even by a single piece of flesh. It seemed that guns were useless against him. It still had to come down to a final hand-to-hand fight. The two of them once again rushed at each other and fought. In his rage, Mac's strength surged, and with one hand he threw Mike flying away. Mike, however, seized the opportunity to grab the fire extinguisher beside him and slammed it into Mac. With just that one blow, he knocked him to the ground. As soon as he stepped out of the main entrance, Peter, the poisoning expert, lunged at him and clamped Mike's mouth and nose shut with his poisonous hand. Mike struggled free and only then got a clear look at his opponent. In his hand, Peter pulled out 2 syringes. But how could a poisoning expert who only knew how to poison people and did not know how to fight possibly be a match for Mike? The poisoned syringe in his hand was turned back on him by Mike and stabbed into his own neck, after which Mike kicked him downstairs. After dealing with these colleagues, Mike rode his motorcycle straight to the home of Kim, the senior executive of the oil company. He secretly broke into the villa. At that moment, Kim was inside his large villa, protected by Jane, the female assassin with the sword. She had been specially sent by Uncle Ray, and unexpectedly she really did prove useful. Mike did not waste words. He jumped directly into the house and calmly appeared in front of the two of them. Now was not the time for him to play his accidental assassination game. Revenge had to be carried out openly, by facing them directly in battle. The female assassin Jane handed her katana to Kim and told him to run. In her eyes, dealing with Mike did not even seem to require the sword yet. Sure enough, Jane's fighting skills were extremely impressive. She and Mike fought evenly using masterful empty-hand combat techniques. Several times, she caught Mike off guard. It seemed this woman's strength ranked among the top in the entire Oasis bar. Mike appeared to have underestimated her before. Jane's skills were truly remarkable. She used her empty-hand combat techniques to send Mike rolling all over the floor. Unfortunately, she is not the main character. After fighting for a while, she gradually began to tire, and that was when Mike started to counterattack. This arrogant female assassin was forced to draw her katana. It seemed she had also underestimated Mike. After several rounds, Mike was injured, and he had no choice but to grab a standing lamp as a weapon. Otherwise, bare hands could not deal with a long blade. But after only a few exchanges, the lamp handle was cut through by Jane's sharp, long sword. Jane thought she had victory in her hands and began mocking Mike. Enraged, Mike threw several punches and then stabbed her to death. After dealing with all the assassins, Mike finally came face to face with the man behind Beth's murder. This senior executive of the oil company still wanted to use money to buy Mike off. He believed money could solve everything, but he did not know that there are some people and some things that money cannot buy. At this moment, Milton was hiding in Uncle Ray's bar. He believed he could finally sleep peacefully. He was convinced that the assassins had already helped him eliminate the threat in his heart, but unexpectedly Mike returned to the bar holding the katana. Every person he had sent out had been wiped out. Even Uncle Ray had run out of options. It seemed that this student had already surpassed him. Milton fearfully hid behind Uncle Ray's back. This was now his only source of support. Hearing that the young man standing before him had even killed the client, Uncle Ray, who had always valued the rules of the trade above all else, was about to explode in anger and curse at him. But Mike told him that all of this had actually been caused by the old partner standing behind him. Milton still wanted to defend himself. Mike directly threw the recording device onto the table. From inside came the recorded conversation of cooperation between him and the accountant Ken. After hearing it, Uncle Ray understood everything. The partner he had always wanted to protect had dared to play so many tricks behind his back, causing all of his assassins to die just to deal with his student. Uncle Ray furiously beat Milton, then stomped him to death right behind the bar. This retired veteran assassin was still enough to make people shudder when he turned ruthless. But unexpectedly, Uncle Ray pulled out the double-barreled shotgun from under the counter and pointed it straight at that hateful brat Mike. He had destroyed the entire career Uncle Ray had spent so many years building. He wanted nothing more than to finish him off with one shot. But Mike looked completely confident. He knew Uncle Ray was only trying to scare him. He could let other people deal with Mike, but he himself could never do it. After all, Mike was like half a son to him. Uncle Ray lowered the gun, but the bond between him and this young man had also come to an end. Mike turned and prepared to leave, and in the very end, Uncle Ray still did not forget to give him one final warning.
You watch your back, Mike.
Uncle Ray smiled. He truly was the best assassin Uncle Ray had ever trained with his own hands, an accident assassin who kills invisibly. He would hide in any corner of this city, waiting for the next accident to happen. Today's story ends here. Thank you all for watching the film. What do you think about this movie? Leave a comment below.